A special welcome to the people who are watching the television of Family 7. We are today in the Embassy of Israel, and we are in a very special and a very nice room. Welcome, Ambassador.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for receiving us. It's not the first time that we are here, but this is a special room. Maybe you can introduce or explain what this or kind of a room is.
Yes, this is the Chaim Weizmann room, the first president of the State of Israel. It's a meeting room and a library of the Israeli Embassy in The Hague. Many important meetings and discussions between Dutch and Israeli people, politicians, diplomats, journalists, members of the Christian community, of the Jewish community, took place in this room. So it has really witnessed the history, the development of the Dutch-Israeli relations.
So if the walls can speak, we get a lot of important messages.
Definitely.
Okay. So thank you again for receiving us here. We're here to talk about last year, 2017 and 2018. What was for you, as the ambassador of Israel, the most important, what happens in 2017?
Of course, one of the most important events in 2017 happened just a short time ago, towards the end of the year, and this is the statement of the American President Donald Trump about recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of the State of Israel. This is a change in the position of not only the government of the United States, but the international community. Yes, we know that there was a lot of criticism, but I think that President Trump was able to state a fact that is known actually to the whole world for 3,000 years already, and definitely after the creation of the State of Israel 70 years ago, that Jerusalem is and has always been the capital of the Jewish people and the State of Israel. And I think this is a turning point in the attitude of the international community to Jerusalem and to Israel, and I hope that it will affect also the Dutch government and the Dutch people.
When he did his declaration about, or statement about Jerusalem, what was the reaction for you in the Netherlands? What was the results?
Unfortunately, the Dutch government, at least, did not accept this statement and even voted against it in the last vote in the special session of the General Assembly at the UN in New York. But I know of many Dutch people who supported this statement, not only among the Christian community, definitely the Jewish community, but also Dutch people who are usually not involved in politics or in the Middle Eastern affairs or in Dutch-Israeli affairs. We got a lot of positive reactions at the embassy. Yes, there were also those who objected it. And as I mentioned, we regret the fact that the Dutch government voted against this resolution in the UN, but at the same time, I would like to commend the Dutch government for voting against the resolutions on Jerusalem in UNESCO during this year, where UNESCO declared that Jerusalem and the Temple Mount have no connection to the Jewish people, which is an absurd, of course. So this is an issue we will have to follow up in 2018, and I hope we will start doing it with the upcoming visit of Foreign Minister Zijlstra in Jerusalem in 2 weeks.
And what are you going to do there? Is it a political visit, or is it also for business?
It is both. A visit of a foreign minister from wherever he or she are coming is always a combination of many things. It's political, it's economic, it's spiritual, and we will show Jerusalem to Foreign Minister Zijlstra. Of course, the important part of his visit will be the meetings that we will have with President Rivlin and Prime Minister Netanyahu. He will visit Yad Vashem, he will meet Israelis, and I hope that he will be able to understand the complexity of the region, of the issues between us and the Palestinians, but also get to know Israel as it really is, and not only as it is portrayed in the media.
I'm just back from a visit from Israel, and I had a very amazing experience. I was invited in Mea Shearim to celebrate Shabbat there. After Shabbat, this ultra-Orthodox rabbi invited me to do a tour, and I was invited in the homes of these people. Everywhere I get a question. Can you tell me, and I'm going to ask you this question, can you tell me why are the nations so upset about the United States that they declare, they bring a statement that Jerusalem is the official capital of Israel, and this is always our capital. Why are the nations so upset about it? And then I will ask you, what is your answer on it?
This is a very good question, a complicated one, and I don't think I have an easy or a simple answer. But the fact is that Jerusalem is in the center of the interest of billions of people around the world. And it is a religious holy site for billions of people, Jews, Christians and Muslims. And since the conflict in our region is also influenced and was influenced throughout the years by the religious and the religious heritage of nations and religions, it is of course also a political issue. It has become a political issue. And somehow the international community is accustomed of enforcing its opinion on the state of Israel, on the whole region, and the fact that in the last years, in the last decades, the criticism of Israel and the singling out of Israel in the international arena has become something that everyone was accustomed to. And suddenly someone stands up, and it is not just someone, it is the President of the United States, and is saying something different. And this is difficult for people to accept. Accepting a change is always a difficult issue. In anything we are doing as human beings. And I think important is that this statement was made and this change was started, was initiated, and I hope that many will follow. At least 2 countries have declared already that they will move their embassies to Jerusalem, additional to the United States. It's Honduras and Guatemala. And Prime Minister Netanyahu said more than once already that he is sure that other countries and governments will follow.
But it is a very controversial subject, Jerusalem. And you are giving, in a way, a political answer. But is the whole issue about Jerusalem not a religious issue?
It is, of course, also a religious issue. But as a person who lives in Jerusalem, I can tell you, also looking back at history and the situation in Jerusalem during the past decades and centuries, I think that if Jerusalem is important to religious and believing people all around the world, with no difference if they are Jews, Christians or Muslims, one thing is definitely clear beyond any doubt, that only under Israeli control there is a complete freedom of worship in Jerusalem for everybody. When Jerusalem was under Islamic rule, Jews were not allowed to approach the Wailing Wall, the Western Wall, the most holy site for the Jewish religion. When Muslims controlled Jerusalem, they turned all the Christian sites. Take, for example, the stations of Jesus Christ on Via Dolorosa, okay? They turned it into Islamic sites. This is completely unacceptable if you're talking about freedom of religion, okay? And respect for other religions. This has not been the case until the State of Israel came in control of Jerusalem, and in 1967 also on the eastern part of the city. And I think that I can say clear and proudly that under the government of Israel, the freedom of worship will continue. The status quo in the holy sites, the Temple Mount and the Christian sites in Jerusalem will be kept and will be maintained, and we are very proud about that.
Now, what's the reaction from the Muslim world? Very upset, very angry. That's what you can expect. But two nations already have declared Jerusalem as the capital of a Palestinian state, Turkey and Iran. So imagine if there will be come an embassy in east of Jerusalem. What will be the answer of Israel?
I don't think we will let it happen. I think this is a political statement. We understand the place that Jerusalem has also for Muslims in their belief, in their religion, and we respect it. The Temple Mount, the very place where the two Jewish temples stood, is today a Muslim holy site. We as Jews, we might not like it, but we have to respect this fact, and this is what we are doing. It is not being done on the other side. When the Arabs and the Muslims controlled the country, Jews were not allowed to enter the cave of the patriarchs in Hebron. They could only climb 7 steps, but not furthermore. Today, this holy place is divided between Jews and Muslims. There are prayer times for each religion, and I think this is the way to approach holy sites in the Holy Land in general, and in Jerusalem in particular, and this is what the democratic Jewish government of the State of Israel will do also in the future.
We had also the experience in the Netherlands about what happens in Amsterdam with this kosher restaurant, that somebody was destroying the windows. You visit that. That was only one case. Did you expect more?
Unfortunately, during 2017, we have seen an increase in anti-Semitic statements and events in the Netherlands, but not only in the Netherlands. And I think this is a development that has to be taken seriously by everybody, the government, the media, the public opinion, the political system. And I'm happy about the fact that it was mentioned a few times in Parliament by different members of Parliament here in The Hague. I think the reaction of the city of Amsterdam and the government on this last attack on the restaurant was the right one. A complete rejection, stating that this is unacceptable. Members of Parliament came with me to the restaurant that evening, and I think we all need to be very alert about countering this anti-Semitic increase. in the Netherlands and in Europe.
But if you see what the reaction was worldwide about this statement, I think that this was maybe the only case in the Netherlands after this statement. Did you expect, to be honest, more about reactions or not?
Yes, actually I did. And I cannot say I'm happy that this is the only one.
No.
But yes, we expected more, but this was another addition to things we have seen during the year in Amsterdam at the Dam Square, also here in The Hague, statements of even politicians referring to Israelis and even Israeli high school students as murderers of Palestinian children without the right reaction of the people that we thought should have reacted. But this is a constant issue that is being discussed between us, the Dutch authorities, the Jewish communities, the Christian communities, and there are many, many people in this country who understand the problem and are ready to do something about it.
So if we have this as the experience now, we know what happens in 2017, and you look forward to 2018, and then you have a big event in Israel. What is your expectation of 2018?
I hope that 2018 will be better than the 2017. This is always our hope when a new year is around the corner. As human beings, as Jews, as Christians, as Muslims, this is the natural thing to hope for, that the future will be better than the past. I think that the issue of Jerusalem will continue to preoccupy us. I think that the situation in the Middle East, in general, around Israel, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Iraq, in Yemen, in Saudi Arabia, and Egypt, will continue to preoccupy us. The Netherlands is entering on the 1st of January the UN Security Council. I think that Netherlands will be a very important member of the Security Council. But as a member of the Security Council, usually you are dealing more with those issues that are problematic for the whole international community, like the situation in the Middle East. And this is why it is important for us to get in touch and in discussion with Dutch politicians, members of parliament, officials of the government, explaining the difficult situation in the Middle East, a very complicated region where the independent Jewish state has to survive.
It's very dangerous now for Israel in the Middle East, but on the borders with Iran, the armies of Iran are coming closer. The situation with Russia is very complex. Trump has a problem with him, or he's not. Nobody knows exactly how the situation is. But the people in Israel, the army is preparing for a possible war. Is that true?
Unfortunately, I was born in the state of Israel.
I remember the last interview you shared about it.
I grew up there. I fought wars there, and unfortunately, we always must be prepared for the next war. As long as our neighbors are not willing to accept a Jewish independent existence in this part of the world, we have to prepare for war. And terror is always on the agenda. Unfortunately, Iran is not only exporting terror, but also expanding its presence around the borders of Israel, be it Hezbollah in South Lebanon, Shiite militias in Syria, Hamas in Gaza. They are trying to topple the regime in Saudi Arabia. They are destabilizing Egypt and Jordan. And this is an issue that is not only a worry for Israel, but for the rest of the international community. It is being discussed in NATO, it is being discussed within the European Union and in the UN, and I am sure that many in the Netherlands, including responsible people here, people with responsibility, understand the situation and will be partners of discussing those issues in the coming year.
If I know and you know that still the Golan Heights is an issue in international law and in international circles, are you going with the Minister of Foreign Affairs to the Golan Heights to show him how and why it's so important not to give it to Syria? Is that part of your visit also? Or?
We are going to discuss it with him, but according to the policies of the European Union, official guests are not supposed to cross what is called the green line. So Foreign Minister Zaitsev will not be on the Golan Heights and will not visit the West Bank with us. He will go to Ramallah to visit the Palestinian Authority, which is perfectly okay. This is part of the attempts to bring about the two-state solution that we also support, but there are certain limitations for a member of the European Union, and this is, by the way, something we would like to discuss with Foreign Minister Zaitsev, with the Dutch government, but we are also bringing it up in Brussels with the European Union.
Okay, then we are almost at the end of this program. If I ask you, do you have a special message for the people who are watching this program that are, I think the most are Christians in the Netherlands? What is your message? And the question is also, what can we do to help and to bless the people of Israel? What will be your answer on that?
I think that my message to the Dutch people, and especially to our friends from the Christian community, but many others as well, has also to do with the statement of President Trump about Jerusalem. The fact that Jews and Christians and Muslims actually base their beliefs and their culture and their heritage on very similar, almost identical principles and values. This should be the guideline for all of us in the coming year. This is part of the reasons of the conflict, but this should also be part of the way to solve those conflicts. Getting together, finding things that unite us instead of things that separate us, and unfortunately extremists everywhere are using those issues to separate us and to cause war, suffering and terror. We should be able to get above that and find the things that unite us, like the freedom of religion and the freedom of belief and the shared values, not only between the religions but also between peoples and between governments. And
but what can we do practical?
We should spread the message of being able to live together, spread the message of cooperation. We have now the issue of immigrants, we have humanitarian issues all around the world, including in the Middle East. These are things on which we can work together and achieve some results. And these are the points we should address in 2018, and less so the issues that separate us, which are mostly based on political interest instead of the interest of making the world better than it is now.
Thank you so much. It's the end of the program. I have a lot of other questions, but this is it. And thank you so much that you take your time, give your time to us.
Thank you for this interview, and I'd like to take this opportunity and wish all our friends, but basically all the people of the Netherlands, a very happy, successful, healthy and peaceful New Year.